What we wanted to get into is some tips for women, because the more I've studied retirement, the more I see that women have more risks facing them in retirement than men. They live longer. Women are typically the caregivers of children and parents. I read a study, Steve, that said the average woman will spend at least 11 years of her life taking care of children or parents. Well, what does that do to your career? If you're 11 years out of it, that's less money you're making, that's less money you're saving, that's less money for Social Security. That means future Social Security benefits are lower. It's a significant issue. So here's some things to think about. Dr. David Babel wrote this white paper, and it was titled, "She Got Her First Job at Age 66." Now think about that. She'd been married. Her husband he was a professor. He had a great job. They lived a great life. They traveled the world. Well, when he retired, he took his pension in a lump sum, and he let one of their nephews or somebody manage the money, and the nephew lost it all. Then he got sick and died. So there she is at age 66, she had to get her first job. So that just kind of shows you some of the risks that can happen to women in retirement. He highlighted there are 5 key risks to women in retirement. Number 1, the decreasing rates of return on their Social Security contributions, because Social Security is not as generous as what it once was. The accelerating demise of defined benefit pension plans, because many times the women, even though they live longer, if the husband had a pension, the wife got part of that pension, but now if they're not pensions, they don't get that. The transition of the baby boom generation to retirement, creating a greater drain on Social Security. As we saw, they've taken away file and suspend, they've taken away restricted application. They're going to be taking away more, by the way. Longer expected lifetimes, and the much smaller post-baby boom generation who are being asked to support boomers' retirement. So there just aren't the workers, as we talked about in an earlier segment, to pay for the Social Security. So we've got many issues that women face. Look at this. There are more than 25 million single women in the United States over age 45, and that's growing. They're single because of divorce, delayed marriage, death of a spouse, or just the desire to remain single. They're going to need to live off their own savings if income from an employer-sponsored pension plan is not enough. Those women of retirement age are twice as likely as men to live in poverty, according to the government study. And here's why. They're highly likely to become caregivers for aging parents and for children, given estimated loss of wages of $142,000, coupled with lost Social Security benefits of $131,000 and a $50,000 impact on retirement savings. A woman's average overall cost of providing care can be roughly $325,000, and for many women it's more than that, especially for professional women. They lose even more. And so single women should consider getting long-term care for their parents. If their parents don't have it, strongly recommend it. But if the parents don't get it, it says a lot of single women should buy it for their parents to save them some money over the long term. There's 11% of the women who are over age 65 and are divorced. And as we talked about, divorced women can collect on their ex's Social Security benefit. Now, I've seen a pattern out there of women in their 60s and 70s who are married in their 20s and 30s. They might have been divorced for 30 or 40 years. They don't even remember the guy. Sometimes the guy is even dead. They can collect on his Social Security benefit. So if you know any women in their 60s and 70s who are married at least 10 years, they can collect on their ex's Social Security benefit and not remarried. They've got to be married at least 10 years, not remarried, and their ex is entitled to the Social Security benefit. Women typically outlive men. 85% of women over age 85 are widows. And only 45% of men are in that same category. So it's a big thing for women. And I always tell people, life insurance is a women's issue. You know why? Because 70% of the beneficiaries of life insurance are women. Men are very underinsured right now, so who's going to pay the price for that underinsurance? It's women. So we got to get women to talk to the men about getting more life insurance. Now let me say this, women are also underinsured for life insurance. 50% of all women have no life insurance, so they need more life insurance too, but 70% of the time they're going to be the beneficiary. Women business owners. So the fastest growing group of business owners is women business owners, and yet they save less than men typically for their retirement. So we've got to talk to women business owners about the importance of starting retirement plans, and they've got to take care of themselves, and they got to make sure they're putting in adequate money for their own retirement because of all these other risks they face.